I love death games. There, I said it. Rock, paper, scissors. Fun. Rock, paper, scissors death game. Fun for the whole family. Get the revolver, Grandma. You're the arbiter now. Okay. Gambling. Super fun. Gambling death game. Why are we not streaming this yet? Card games. Fun. Card games as a death game. Kaiji has a whole arc about that. Death games are beautiful. They take simple games and shove stakes at them, like someone shoving stakes into a vampire. They make you overanalyze something you would never overanalyze otherwise. Because who overanalyzes? Rock, paper, scissors. I'll tell you who. Someone with a gun pointed at their head. God damn it, Grandma! But no! That's why I run death games on my streams. I coded a fighting game from scratch. Losers get banned. I made a slot machine where the loser dies, but harder. I ran elections. The loser gets to try again and maybe could become a politician. I'm kidding, he dies. I made a riot system where I die if I don't appease the crowd, and the crowd is you. I even made a courtroom where I am the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And now I'm building a buckshot roulette clone because the kids yearn for the gambling. But you read the title. Where are the cards? I made a physical card game that simulates the feel of a death game. Your deck is your health. Run out of cards, and hands will shoot you. Don't flinch, he's right behind you. Every time you take damage, you send cards to the discard pile. And every card brings hands closer to doing what I paid him to do. But the thing is, you need cards to win. Cards are your skills. If you have no cards in hand, you have no skills. But each time you draw a card, you get closer to dying. I love that feeling. The feeling of risk. The moment where there's no good option, just the least bad one. That's what death games are about. The physical version is in alpha, and I made a 10-page rulebook. For context, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a 40-page rulebook, and Magic has a 200-page Bible. That's the only way I can describe it. But there's more. A digital game. And it's going to be a death game itself! Yes, you heard it! A death game inside a death game, trying to be a death game. A death game that is a death game. If this sounds like a game you would like to play, here's how the digital version will work. Cards are your health. Cards are your money. Cards are how you earn street cred. If people say you have a huge deck, congratulations, you're probably doing something well. Cards are the only way you can buy new cards and perks. However, if your deck hits 0 at any point, you die. You're either trying to escape a basement or win a tournament. I don't know, I'm still working on the lore. Each level is randomized, like any good roguelike. You might face Frederick as your first boss, or you might face James. And yes, I built an entire environment in Eevee trying to figure out how the game should look like. There's no retracing, no magic. Just old light tricks I learned working on my videos at 3 AM. Which means it should run well, even in your potato PC. Now, without further ado, let's do this. As you can see, we have entered a new world. I'm scared. Why is my face flat? Oh no, did you see that? You didn't. Do you even know what's happening? He played a card and made you mute 3 cards. It means the top 3 cards of your deck were sent straight to your discard pile, which means you're closer to dying. If you have no more cards to draw, you die. Let me help you. Try deploying a card. No, not there. You can only deploy cards in Zone 1, no exceptions whatsoever. Unless when there are, like when the card says so. Nice. But this one didn't do anything. Here's why. Each card has 4 symbols, either white or red. They represent the card's activation zones. White means you can use them there. Red means it does nothing. The card you place can only be used on Zone 2 and 3, which means you can only use it on the next turn. Which means you can only end your turn now. So, do it. As you just saw, each turn has 3 phases. Draw phase, movement phase, action phase. And after all of them, you can end your turn. Let's try doing that together, shall we? Draw phase, draw 1 card. Good. Movement phase. All cards on the field move 1 space to the right. That's how cards reach the zones, moving one step at a time. Action phase. That's the moment you place cards and use them. Try to find that one, the blue card, stand off. Now we got 2 cards on the field, both in their activation zones. But just because the cards can be used, doesn't mean you have to use them. You can choose to not use the cards, and just wait. Cards will keep moving one space to the right each turn, until they reach the end of the board and get stuck. If a card reaches zone 4 and cannot be activated, it stays there, clogging the board. When that happens, you need to find a way to try to remove them. They are dead cards. Useless. Now go ahead, try using a card. To use a card, you have to rotate it. Quick cards leave the field right away. Normal cards leave the field after your end of turn. But look, zone 1 is open again. You can use as many cards as you want, so long zone 1 is empty. And it is, so try using another card. That's all for this turn. Now move the used cards to the discard pile one at a time, from left to right. Your opponent just gave you some cards. But remember, every time you draw a card, you take damage. Wait, don't do that! Let me explain. It just negated your card. So long you have a quick card on the field, or your zone 1 is empty, you can deploy and use them at any point, regardless of phase or turn. Sometimes you can even use them from your hand. See? He just did that again! Remember, quick cards are quick. It's in the name. Fortunately, they do leave the field right away, so you can still do something this turn. That card you played. This is not a robbery. It never leaves the field. It is a continuous card. So long as inside the activation zone, it is always active, always working. That's all for this turn. This draw phase, your opponent drew 2 cards. That's the effect of this is not a robbery. Listen closely, I'll say this just once. There are 4 types of basic actions any card can do. It's not 3, it's not 5, it's 4. Cards can force you to draw, mill, discard, or return. When you draw, a card goes from the top of your deck to your hand. When you mill, a card goes from the top of your deck to the discard pile. When you discard, a card goes from your hand to the discard pile. And finally, return. A card goes from the top of your discard pile to the top of your deck, which is essentially healing. This is not a robbery, forces your opponent to draw 1 more card each draw phase. With 3 this is not a robbery, your opponent would lose in 10 turns. And remember, normally continuous cards never leave the field. You need to find a way to get rid of them, if you must. You just drew a different kind of card. A fixed card. Fixed cards change how the game behaves. Others have effects similar to continuous cards. They go in the orange zone and follow their own rules. This one, overtime, makes you draw 1 card whenever you discard any number of cards. Let's try using it. Now try using the card I don't like it. The card says, discard 1, return 5, draw 2. We have to apply the effects, from top to bottom. Let's try it. First, discard 1. Because of overtime, you draw 1. Return 5. Draw 2. It may not seem like it, but this turn is not over yet. Fixed cards never move and never leave the field. The only way to change them is to swap the current one for another. To do that, send the current fixed card to the discard pile, and then place a new one. I place creative writing. By discarding 1 card, I can move any card in the field to a zone next to it. As you just saw, some continuous and fixed cards turn when used. They become exhausted and cannot be used until they turn back the next turn, during the movement phase. But we don't have time for that. That's why I activate a card from my hand. Flyby, like creative writing. It also moves a card to a zone next to it. It worked. Zone 1 is open, which means we can play another card again. And that's why I play Blow Me, a card that blocks any zone until my next draw phase. And for that, I choose their zone 1, which means there's no way for them to use cards until Blow Me leaves the field. But that's not all. Zone 1 is open again. And they play a second, this is not a robbery. Now your opponent draw 3 cards each draw phase. And even then, the turn is not over yet. I play right becomes left. Now cards are placed in zone 4 instead of 1. Yes, some cards break the rules. And thanks to my move, I placed Delete the Sun in Zone 4. A card impossible to activate by normal means, which is why I bring forth the 5th zone. As the name implies, now there's a 5th zone on the field, and cards can move there, and any card can be activated there. Next turn, Delete the Sun will move to the 5th zone, and will be triggered, forcing the opponent to mill 10 cards. There is no escaping death. I end my turn. As you can see, they are thinking, but there is nothing they can do. They cannot play a single card. It's time to do this. Delete the Sun! We live in interesting times. Just like all humans once lived in interesting times. The Bronze Age collapse, the Iron Age civilizations, Alexander the Great conquests, the rise and fall of Rome, the rise and fall of the Huns. And so many moments people could have looked around and said, yep, this sure is an interesting time. I'm scared. Please, can someone stop this ride? All moments in history are interesting times. It just doesn't seem like it, because we just have one life. This one. Why am I talking about this? Because today's YouTube is my version of interesting times. It's my Vietnam, my Pyrrhic War, or any other war that was a shit show. People fight for every single second of your attention. They do anything to have you look at the screen for even 5 seconds. And you sure will be goddamn happy about it. I was once asked if I'm doing this for the money. This, right now, that I'm doing. If that's the reason, I'm sure I'm doing a really bad job at it. I barely make $100 a month. If I wanted money, I would do anything but what I'm doing right now. What I want is change. A cry for help for the next generation to not turn into attention ghouls that would do anything for 5 seconds of fame. Anything but actually try to create something meaningful. Something actually worth people's time. Something actually creative. Before I became a YouTuber, I was a full-time musician, and I lost my job to AI. Because I was a freelancer. I transcribed and arranged over 1,000 songs for bands, orchestras, and small groups. I learned music just to do this. Since the start of this channel, I've been doing everything by myself. Alone. Me, my rusty microphone, my rusty camera, and a mind too stupid to realize I had no idea what I was doing. And that's why I did it anyway, because I was too dumb to realize how bad at it I was at the time. Yes, that's true. Everyone is bad at something at the start. And so I learned how to color grade and film just to do this. Then I started streaming, and I made half a dozen games you can play live against other viewers. I learned how to code just to do this. What I want is to find the boundaries of something, the walls that define it, and break them, and then break them again, and then break them one more time just to be sure, and again just for good measure because you can never really know how many walls a house has nowadays. And I'm guessing it's at least 4. I don't know if you can break them, but I'll try. But I can't do this by myself anymore. The only way to make more videos, more games, and a whole card game is to have your help. I can do this. I worked for over 8,000 people already as a freelancer. I know my limits. That's why I'm making a card game. But with your help, it can still be more. Think about it. More videos, more streams, and a whole storyline in the style of Ivory Shard, and I am every goddamn character. In fact, I might even be you. But with your help, it can still be more. Think about it. More videos, more streams, and a whole storyline in the style of Ivory Shard, and I am every goddamn character.